Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to try out a archetype that had a brief kind of stint in Historic. We got the hype of the Historic Anthology, then we haven't really seen much of it. It's the kind of Naya domain zoo deck, and it's got Tribal Flames, it's got Bloodbraid Elves, it's got two mana, 5-power creatures, effectively, and Nishoba Brawler, as well as Territorial Kavu. Nakatl becomes a 1-mana 3/3. We got the addition of Voice of Resurgence. So this list largely is from a sub of mine. They had sent me a list, and I'm pretty sure it's the same person. They posted on the Historic Reddit. They were 45 and 14 with this. Notable difference was they had 2 Rahildas in the slot of Voice of Resurgence, and their comments were play Voice. They were just short the wildcard. So we're going to see how Voice plays out in this format. Notably, you have Leyline Binding, which is a 1-mana removal spell for the most part in this deck. Bloodbraid helps you find your cards below. So you have Bloodbraid, that's basically 2 creatures in 1, or at least the Tribal Flames that can hit for up to 5 damage. You have Lelia as another way to get card advantage off the top, pasting everything with Storm Seekers, all kind of mixed in. One thing I'm also curious about is the mana base. It is... what's the opposite of budget friendly? Because this is a very expensive mana base. All rares all day, 24 rare wildcards in the mana base, but most importantly, they're all shocklands. There's a couple of the triomes that come into play tapped. They give you the domain that you need, but I'm curious to see how the painful mana base works out. I have seen some other zoo lists that are on the mountain cycling, whatever it is. So like they'll play Oliphant or like the green one. So it reduces the number of lands you need because they're effectively creatures. And if you flood, then you also have access to those. I'm curious to see how that plays out. So we're going to give this a shot, see how it goes, the ladder reset. And really what we're going to be doing in these games is see how it feels compared to kind of the established meta. So hopefully we run into wizards, maybe some Yogg, various ring piles, but let's see if this kind of chunkier aggro deck has a chance. I was going to record the Historic metagame, but it's pretty much the same decks right now. I was also trying to look at MTG Decks to see if there's anything unique in the best of 1 format right now. It is a little bit inbred of a meta. A lot of it's kind of predicated on either you beat Bowmaster or you go super linear. So if this is Wizards, I think we're fine either way. So I'm going to lead on probably Blood Crypt tapped, because this will get Leyline Binding down to 1 mana. Okay, so that's actually great because that's 2 mana here. Sorry, Bone Crusher kills it there. Depending on what they play out here, I can go Storm Seeker here. Ideally, I want to use this Lelia afterwards when we get to more mana. But if I could control their earlier plays, could have Reckless Rage. I think here... so we have a choice. So they're obviously holding up a burn spell, so it's not great to kind of throw out a 3-drop here. So I think we're just going to pass the turn. Give us the option on upkeep to Leyline Binding. Okay, so they had 2 damage. There was the potential they could have had 3. Okay, so they keep that on top. This is a time where I would like, say something like Helix, just to gain us some life back. Notably, I do want to try to get this outside of range as quick as possible. So we see the Wizard's Lightning. It might have been right to pick them off this. Okay, so I could double spell this turn. That gives me access to Voice. I think we set up the Storm Seeker this turn. Get in the damage. I'm just trying to save life off of the lands here. Brawler would be 4 power. We have voice as well, which is nice. Now they can very easily, you know, 1 drop, 2 drop. They may have to play a 3 mana Wizard's Lightning. If I could tempo them off that, it's good. Next we see Sage. Could see like a Reckless Impulse, which would be a little scary. Their line drop. We see Arcanist here. So notably Arcanist can get back a Wizard's Lightning, which is a bit scary. So I could Lelia, try to find a piece of removal. We will have access to Tribal Flames as well as Leyline Binding. I think that's ultimately the line I have to go with here. Why did it tap me out like that? So I wasn't paying attention to Auto Tapper. Bit unfortunate there. I wanted to play voice. Auto Tapper did us in. So we got to be mindful of the mana with this deck. They are at 9. Tribal Flames deals 4. So if we could survive this attack step, we might be okay. There is a decision point that we're going to have of do we... Because my guess is they play a spell, they'll pump up Arcanist, which will then pump up the Symmetry Sage. The Arcanist will flashback Wizard's Lightning, which will target my Nishaba Brawler. That is 3 power. So that's annoying because that's going to give them 2 answers plus some cards. I do have 2 Pain Lands. So the mana base has been a bit of a sticking point here. They just have another burn spell. Yeah, it's really rough. They're just going to clearly answer my board. At this point, not much we can do. They hit for 7. Just Flame of Anor again, so we're dead here. Okay, so mana did us in that game. I do still think maybe Wizard Helix is reasonable in these decks. You are taking a lot of damage because we did at least 4 damage to ourselves there. I needed 1 creature to stick around to maybe have a shot. Sorry, I'm still getting over being sick, so my voice is a little raspy. So like a hand like this is very slow. We don't do anything for the first 3 turns. I think we mulligan. I think we keep this, put back Tribal. This is Dredge, most likely. These. Either blue-black control. So they opted to go with the creature there. Bowmaster. So Bloodbraid's nice because it will let us get 2 spells in even through a counter spell. They do have Archmage Charm mana up. This version will be on the ring and Sheoldred, given that they are not a Lurrus companion. So that gives us blue mana. We have a couple options here. I could just leyline. I'm missing the black, so this only deals 4 right now. I think we just pass the turn here. Use the leyline here. Of course, they have double Bowmaster, because why not? Let them decide here what they want. It's going to most likely be Bloodbraid Elf. Bit unfortunate. Make disappear. Nothing like stacked hand. They're largely out of cards here. I think we get rid of this. We don't draw cards, so I'm not too worried, but the double Thoughtseize definitely hurt us. It took away all our pressure. And now this is a point where we don't really have a lot of card advantage. So them being on Unearth was nice because it lets us play around. I'm gonna do this just to slow down their clock a bit. I can go Jangantha to hand. I also have Nishabi Brawler. We could go this last turn. This is also nice if they draw another Thoughtseize, I can play around it. They're flooding now. That was a great draw. And notably, this makes my Leyline Binding cost 1 mana. So if they have the ring, doesn't do much. Alright. So, despite them being all gas for the first few turns, they kind of flooded out there. A little risky to play Opt, I think, in this format between the number of Shieldreds and Bowmasters. Like, I don't think you could have a better start. They just didn't have the kind of sustained pressure, right? And we were able to draw out of it, thankfully. I think similarly, if we had that same hand, you know, like the triple Leyline, 1 Tribal Flames against the Wizards matchup, we probably win that one too. So it seems like having that density of spells is also beneficial. Okay, so opponent goes first. So I think we lead on Nacatl here. This is likely Wizards. Oh, Rakdos. ERC. We have a couple options for next turn. This sets us up for white. For a Dredge deck. They mill over, they're an Underworld Breach Dredge deck. So they probably get, so they have to get a land or a creature, so they could get one of these. They'll get the Blossoming Defense. That already turns on DRC, which is very powerful. I think given that, we just take this off the battlefield. We are exposed if they have like a Crucius, but I think 3 damage. They also have Jarsel, which they've shown at least a copy of. The hope is they didn't have another one, but they did. And this is a little bit problematic now because, yeah, they have the Strangle. So I could go Lelia here. Their 2 mana play. Oh, that's actually good. So their 2 mana play would be like Breach or that. I could Lelia this turn, offer the trade. I could I don't get necessarily value that way. If I let it go, they get to get Grizzly Salvage, which helps them dig deeper. I think we're just leyline binding here. Little unfortunate we had the shock there. But I can get this down next turn. If we draw a tapped black, like a pay for black, I can tap my mana in a way to have both Leyline and Lelia. They get back the land. So we do need to be mindful of these. They had it. Very annoying. Because with the DRC, I can't really put pressure on. They can Grizzly Salvage again. This mana's proving to be largely disruptive. They could also just Witherbloom here, especially if they have another copy in hand. Very strange to see Bergie here. So they breach. That does turn off. They can Strangle here to take my Lelia off. They just like storming into Grape Shot. We're just dead. So far, like, the mana's been awful in this deck. You're taking way too much damage just trying to interact, I'm finding. Give this one or two more. Like, there's decks that could work for some people. Could be like the luck. Like, they go 45-14, so it's a fairly reasonable sample size. But we're finding we're not aggressive enough. Okay, so this is a very nice kind of starting hand point. So I think we try this to go. I can get fairly high on the domain to start. Play that. Because Kavu will be 4, so they can't really deal with it. Soulscar can shrink it. So I do think here it's gonna be kill the Soulscar this turn. In part because all their other damage-based effects don't actually do anything. So them being solely on that is pretty good. The Lelia this turn's a little risky. I could get this going. Because Lelia just dies if they have burn. But I think we're okay with Lelia this turn. Following turn, go Kavu. Because they have to basically answer it this turn. If they don't, then I run away with it. And the way that their mana is set up, they need a Wizard's Lightning. Or they need a second land Static Discharge. Okay, so they have the Wizard's Lightning. We do need to be a bit cautious here. Our life total's fairly low. But hopefully start flipping these over. Like, their hand's all gas because they haven't drawn lions. Also just not seeing the black mana. Okay, so they're just disregarding and going face. Just kind of scary. Discard a card. Might be able to kill them here. Yeah. Should be enough for lethal. Gotcha. So got him there. So like the Bone Crusher's fine, I think. It's like 2 for 1. It gives us the effect. I'm just thinking like, do we want like another 1 draw? We're not really playing to the board on 1. Leyline Binding's largely like... I guess we also haven't really seen Triomes as our first land. Because if we're playing a bunch of 2-drops, if we get like 3 pips of domain on early, I think it's fairly reasonable to kind of go that route. We also haven't been able to get braids, or blood braid. We're 2 and 2. See if we could do the 3-2 with this. Go first and looks reasonable. Keep. So again, getting to 4 toughness on turn 2 is really impactful. A lot of the damage will be... So they do have access to Fatal Push in these colors. Something to be mindful of. They are mill. Okay, so we need to get them dead as quickly as possible here. Now, I could loot here, but I want to limit the amount of card draw. We can start eating at their yard. Them milling over a glimpse is good for us. Next turn, depending if we hit a land, I have access to Blood Braid. Okay, that flipping is nice. Voice would have been nice too. All our Leyline Bindings, cool. Cool, 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 cool. So they could have a counter here. So they counter the Blood Braid, which is fine. Boom, boom. Asterinos. Take the W. I mean, if we're playing against, like, bad mill. Jarsoul's a consideration, but it's difficult to get Jarsoul going. I think the ley lines are fine. I think we're okay there. The question is, like, do we want to split, have another copy of Voice, Giver of Runes is something, but not great. This would be a deck that I like Esper Sentinel, but it's unplayable because of Bowmaster. So it does make it a little bit difficult in that respect. The other alternative is we trim a land, trim the Voices of Resurgence, play 3 Lightning Helix. Gives us a better matchup against Wizards. I'd like to kind of go against Wizards again. That Wizards matchup, they kind of stumbled on lands, but they had a lot of burn. I think it was a slight miscalculation on their part to just go face. So we keep this. This is actually pretty solid because this sets us up mana-wise pretty well. Rabid Battery. Go, go, go. Go, go. Ketria Triome here. This is 3 power. So that's definitely something. Oh, so they're hammer time. Sigarda's Aid gets us next turn. The question is, do we just want to play shields down? I mean, I could take 1 turn of the damage, which I think is fine. Because they might just set up. If they hit us for 10, not the end of the world. Okay, so they hit us for 10. Notably, what I'll do here is I'm going to take the Colossal Hammer. I'd love like a 2-drop here. It would be really nice. Oh, they just have Flood. Okay, so... I mean, if they had it on turn 3, they had every piece. I can't really do much there. I took a line. I don't think us being that passive is the correct line. I guess we take 1 turn. It slows us down a power, but even then, if they didn't have the Thud effect, we're fine. We're at 6. I just take their thing and I keep pushing damage through. They're just not going to get enough in that way there. I think it's reasonable. I guess maybe the other constraint is if they have like a different protection effect, but we were going for the hammer anyways. We do lose to a second hammer in that case, but I think all things considered, it was a reasonable line to take. On mulligans here. Gruul, this could be just straight aggro. Very nice start for them. Very nice start. We're gonna get Ember Cleaved on 3 after a mulligan. So we could voice here. I'm gonna go Kavu. I mean, if they have Ember Cleave, they have Ember Cleave. Off a mulligan, you can't really... Okay, so see the Bone Crusher. That's fine. So I'm gonna let them spend the energy and then I'll stomp it. And then next turn I could Bloodbraid Elf. Just do this now. I can't remember if there's an opportunity where they pay and then it goes on the stack. They're slightly running out of gas here, which is nice. So that's actually really nice too. Gives me 2 blockers. We do need to be aware of the den of the Bugbear here. Okay, so they hit their Bloodbraid. Quite scary here. Big difference here, just us hitting a lot of lands. They hit Leyline Binding, doesn't do too much here. I take 5. I think we go Voice here. Because if they go land, they fire up the den. I'm doing this because if they have Embercleave here, I respond. And if not, I just hold the stomp up. I could go Lelia, try to find something. Hold back 2 blockers. And if not, I just play a second Nishuba. Because here they're kind of constrained on mana. And I doubt they're playing like a 3 damage burn. Little unfortunate the way it tapped. Oh, that's kind of a cool interaction. They could block 3, but I don't think they have an answer. We get them that way there. So we'll check Untapped to see how the deck performed. So 4 and 3. Up a game in the end. Got punked out by Hammer. I think that game, like if we take it a little conservative, like the Jund matchup kicked our ass. There wasn't much we could do there. That first Wizards match, pretty close. I think like one more removal spell, maybe one lack of Flame of Anor from them. We probably are okay, but they had it. We did take down Wizards once there, beating up on some of the bad decks that are a little slow. All in all, it's a fun deck. It's interesting. I don't know, just being in this format that's fairly aggressive, like if you do want to be on this many shock lines, it's a little scary. I do think like maybe just doing a Naya package. We saw like them doing Bloodbraid, maybe the Voice of Resurgence in there, just straight Gruul could be reasonable. The straight Gruul does present a little bit of an issue into the black base. You are reliant on Embercleave, so having access to whether it be Leyline Binding or just some form of removal is more reasonable. I would think you'd either want to be Jund in that case or like Naya, just having access to stuff like that. But let me know what you think in the comments. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one.